Old Russian law. A Russian law is a legal system in Kievan Rus, in later Old Rus states, in Grand Duchy of Lithuania and in Moscow Rus. Main source was Old Slavic customary law, Zakon Russkiy. Another sources were Old Scandinavian customary law and Byzantine law. The main written sources were Russkaya, Pravda and Statutes of Lithuania. History, reared according to Old Russian chronicles. In 862, Slavs and Finns invited Varangians under the leadership of Prince Rurik to rule in the land. They said to themselves, "Let us seek a prince who may rule over us and judge us according to the law." Quote, they accordingly went overseas to the Varangian Russes. These particular Varangians were known as Russes, just as some are called Swedes, and others Normans, English, and Gotlanders, for they were thus named. The Chuds, the Slavs, the Krivichians, and the Vez then said to the people of Rus, "Our land is great and rich, but there is no order in it. Come to rule and reign over us." Early Russian states settled on the oral treaty or riad between the prince with his armed force on the one hand, and tribal nobility, and formerly all people on the other hand. The prince and his druzhina defended people, decided lawsuits, provided trade and built towns, and people paid tribute and took part in irregular military. During the ensuing centuries the Red was playing an important role in Old Russian princedoms. The prince and his administration found the relationship with people on the treaty. A breach of the treaty could result in exile of the prince, or even in murder of the prince. Written secular law. One of the results of Rus-Byzantine wars was conclusion of treaties with Byzantine in the 10th century, where, apart from Byzantine legal rules, also Zakon Russkiy rules of Old Russian oral customary law reflected. Yaroslav's Pravda of the beginning of the 11th century was the first written law in Rus. This short code regulated the relationship between the princely druzhina and the people concerning criminal law. After Yaroslav's death, his sons Izyaslav, Vsevolod, Sviatoslav and the druzhina got together and promulgated a code concerning the violation of property rights in princely lands in the middle of the 11th century. Yaroslav's Pravda and Pravda of Yaroslav's sons became a basis for the short edition of Russkaya Pravda. In the period of Vladimir Monomach's reign at the beginning of the 12th century, the vast edition of Russkaya Pravda was given, which contained rules of criminal, procedural and civil law, including trade, family law and rules of the bond of obligation. Later written secular law also included statutory charters, trade treaties, statutes of Grand Duchy of Lithuania, big codes of Moscow Rus and other texts. Byzantine law and church law. Translations of Byzantine legal codes, including Nomocanon, were widely spread in Old Rus, but it wasn't widely applied in secular or church legal practice, restricted mainly in canon law. The church in Old Rus did not have wide influence and depended on the power of the state. Thus, church law mainly dealt with family law and sanctions against moral violation. See also, Church Statutes of Prince Vladimir and Prince Yaroslav.